I love Axios. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Axios means worthy in Greek, and will always work hard for you. And I really enjoyed when Serena and her colleagues were talking about the idea of founders who lived a problem. And that's how Axios came to be, is we wanted to make people smarter, faster about what matters. And you work with entrepreneurs of all kinds, and an event like this, so often a question that you get asked at an event like this, and some people don't like it, they brush it off, some people are offended by it, but you lean into it. Tiffany Dufu, what do you do?
My life's work is advancing women and girls.
Boom.
That's what I do. That's why I wake up every morning.
When I said somebody who actually likes the question, what do you do? And this is a first. I've been privileged to interview thousands of fascinating people in my time as a journalist. This is the first time ever that someone said to me, I know what's going to be on my tombstone.
I do. You are a very good researcher. I already know what's on my tombstone. It's going to say, she got to as many women as she could. And every day, I'm just trying to project manage my life backward from there. And I say that not because everyone's life's work should be advancing women and girls, but because when you are in a moment like ours of immense uncertainty, when you've got a lot of emails, a lot of Slack messages, a lot of text messages, you've got meetings, you've got errands, you've got people who you're responsible for, or four-legged people who you're responsible for, life is just a lot simpler when you know why you're here and when you're grounded in your purpose. And if there's one thing we need right now more than ever, it's leadership that's grounded.
And you were talking about these times, and you are an optimist, and you honestly believe that the next generation can do better than us. How is entrepreneurship a route to that?
It's a huge route. This year, we're celebrating 250 years of our nation's history. And in that time, there are only a few levers that individuals have pulled in order to achieve economic mobility and sustainability and opportunity, which is fundamental to the promise of this country. One is wealth transfer, which very few people had access to. Another is home ownership, which is becoming more and more elusive. There's also retirement savings. The last lever that we've pulled time and time again is entrepreneurship. And it's the one lever for which the barriers to entry have gotten lower. I know this for a fact because I have 2 English degrees and I'm a tech entrepreneur before I was founded before I came to the Tory Burch Foundation. And I think it's really important for us to position entrepreneurship as a social good, as a public good, for us to demystify it. And one of the things that I love about our work at the Tory Burch Foundation is that we're opening the aperture for what entrepreneurship can look like. We just listened to an amazing panel that was talking about entrepreneurship in a traditional way, in a very popular way, which is to talk about entrepreneurs who are seeking venture capital and who are raising usually tech-enabled, very fast-growing startups. At the foundation, we're actually looking for something different. We're focused on investing and supporting entrepreneurs that are building businesses that last. It means that they may not have necessarily had early access to venture capital or capital at all. It means that their priority is capitalizing their business through, check this out, revenue from consumers. It means that they're obsessed with making sure that they're solving a problem for someone, some company, and that they've got an incredible product or service. And I have to say that when I was invited in 2018 to become a volunteer, to be an advisor for the Tory Burch Foundation Fellows Program, be careful what you volunteer for, okay? I was really impressed because at the time, I was one of those venture-backed founders who was building a fast-growing company. And one of the differences that I felt viscerally in helping and supporting the entrepreneurs that the foundation was supporting and myself was that I was always pulled in 2 different directions as I was building my company. I had the consumer but I was also always very focused on the future investor and what they would need and the milestones I would hit in order to raise the next round. And I have to be honest with you, it was kind of distracting. And I loved the idea that the entrepreneurs that I was supporting, even though their companies wouldn't grow as fast, they were sustainable companies, and these entrepreneurs were able to focus on what I think is the most important thing, which is solving that problem, meeting the needs of the consumer, and really building for them. And so I'm not only bullish on entrepreneurship, I'm bullish on women's entrepreneurship, and also on entrepreneurs that sometimes are overlooked, but are building incredible companies that will make a difference for their families, for their communities, and for our nation.
Tiffany, you talked about barriers coming down. Is part of that AI? You really know the tech world, and something I say to young people in my life is that some of the next great organizations, some of the next great fortunes, some of the next great cures, some of the great discoveries will come from a laptop with tools that are basically free.
That's right. So you can get direct access to markets and consumers through social. You can use technology in order to build. There's so many infrastructure and costs that were associated with running a business, starting a business, that just don't exist today.
Something as simple as building a website.
Exactly, that don't exist today. You don't have to hire someone to do all of these things. And so that's why the barriers have become even lower. But the fundamentals of business are still there. If you have a solution to a problem that someone really, really needs solved, the person doesn't care so much who the person is that's solving their problem, and so you have an opportunity.
Tiffany, you talk about community as an accelerant.
Community is everything.
And what do you mean by community?
I mean a web of people that are coming together and convening for some kind of shared purpose. And in our case, if we're talking about entrepreneurs, I actually believe that the most important resource that an entrepreneur can have is actually not the investor, it's the other founders, it's the other entrepreneurs that are in their ecosystem. When I was building, almost every investor, certainly the talent, the solutions that I needed, particularly at 2 o'clock in the morning when I was in tears, 2 a.m. when I was in tears, all of them came from other entrepreneurs. And at the foundation, we're very focused on making sure that that community, that ecosystem is very strong, that you basically have a sounding board at all times, that you have access to resources. This is very important because entrepreneurship, the landscape changes very quickly. It's kind of like parenting. I have a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old. If this gentleman right here who has an 8-month-old asked me for advice, I'd be like, hell, I don't know. It's been a very long time since I had an 8-month-old.
But it worked.
Yes, but entrepreneurship is like that. You really need to convene with people who just went through the same thing that you went through. And so we're very focused on creating pathways that are focused on where an entrepreneur is in the life cycle of their business, making sure that they have access to people who are going through the same thing that they're going through, and also people that are one step above that can give them the tips and the tools.
In addition to being an entrepreneur yourself, in addition to being Madam President, which people have been waiting for a long time, you're a best-selling author. Drop the Ball, Achieving More by Doing Less. And we were kibitzing backstage, like we're kindred spirits on this because at Axios, we're big on simplify. How can we be efficient? How can we delete? What can we cut out of our life and workflow? So I'd love if you have a couple pro tips from Drop the Ball.
First of all, I wrote a book called Drop the Ball because I used to be someone who was terrified of ever dropping a ball. Okay, I used to think that was a terrible thing to do. It meant that you were irresponsible, you were failing to take timely action, you were going to disappoint, in my case, large populations of people, like all women, all Black people. They're not going to get another Black person a job if you mess this up. So I had what I call a Tiffany's epiphany. Some people call them aha moments, in which I had an experience where I had to drop balls left and right. For me, it was the birth of my first child. And I couldn't keep up, but all of the things that I was terrified were going to happen if I ever dropped a ball, none of them materialized. No one told me they didn't love me anymore. I didn't get fired from my job. No one came in to read me my Miranda rights because I had let the alternate side parking tickets that are very annoying in New York City pile up. And so I started to reappropriate this term, drop the ball. So for me, dropping the ball means that we've let go of these unrealistic expectations about having to be everything to everyone, do everything, and that we really hone in and focus on what matters most to us, separate and apart from what matters to the people that you grew up with, your in-laws, whoever else, that you get really clear about your highest and best use in really accelerating what matters most to you, as opposed to just saying yes to everything that comes over the fence. And then finally, figuring out, how do you engage other people in your life? How do you get the help that you need in order to be effective and efficient? But I would say that the most important part of that equation is making sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who believe in your passion, in your project, in your business, trying to get the haters out, and asking them to hold you accountable for all of your next steps. And certainly as an entrepreneur or as anyone who's building, that's the most important thing that you can do.
One of the great entrepreneurs in America, period, is Tory Burch, who also is very intentional. Tory's very intentional about the entrepreneurs coming behind. The Tory Burch Foundation is pledged to add $1 billion to the economy through women entrepreneurs by 2030. Tiffany, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about Tory herself as an entrepreneur and what she does for the women who are coming next, and the most important thing you want people to know about the Tory Burch Foundation.
I think the most important thing, and I have so much respect for Tory, is that she was one of those entrepreneurs who had a product, and she went out and she told her friends about it, and they liked it, and people lined up to buy the product.
She had taste.
Yes, and she grew that into a multi-billion-dollar global brand. But most importantly, she did that in conjunction with purpose. We've come full circle to building a business that she also wanted to ensure was giving back to society. And in her case, she wants to provide more opportunity and more access for more women entrepreneurs. And so I love that some of the proceeds of the business go back to the foundation. By the way, if you've ever bought a Riva Ballet flat or a bag or any ready-to-wear, know that you supported women entrepreneurs through that purchase. And we're very committed to ensuring not just that women entrepreneurs are getting what they need, but that they're actually growing their businesses. 91% of the entrepreneurs that we support are still in business after a decade of doing this work. It's totally inverse from a VC portfolio. And a third of them are now growing multi-million-dollar businesses. This is after coming to us with as little as $75,000, $100,000 in revenue. So there's a formula. We're unlocking it, and we're scaling the work for this next generation.
So if a young aspiring entrepreneur in this audience here at Axios House in Austin, or around the world on the live stream, if a young entrepreneur, a person who's dreaming of starting a business, if they said, what would Tory do? What would the answer be?
Don't ask what Tory would do. Look inside yourself. Find your own gut, your own voice, and follow it. Follow it furiously, and we're here to support you every step of the way.
Tiffany, we always finish Axios events and Axios newsletters with one fun thing. 14 days from today, 2 weeks from today, is March 27th. What's that?
That's my birthday.
So we're big on birthdays, and what I love about you, and something useful for our audience, is you make an occasion of your birthday as a way of making about community. Tell us about doing birthdays big and why.
I wasn't expecting this. I love my birthday. I always go, much to my family's chagrin, on a girls' trip for my birthday. And I think it's really important that all people, but especially really busy women who are hustling and building companies and supporting other people and caregiving for other people, that we take time to invest in ourselves. So I always go on a girls' trip for my birthday.
And the takeaway for us, the why it matters of that, is prioritizing time. Tell us the takeaway of your birthday's fun, but the prioritizing time is something lasting.
Well, absolutely, because at the end of the day, if you're someone who wants to create impact in the world, you're going to be really busy. There's going to be a lot of demands on your time. It's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be exhausting, especially in the moment that we're in right now. So if you don't refuel your tank with the right energy and the right people and the right playlist, and for some people, the right cocktail, in order to refuel, we're not going to be able to make the world a better place. So I just encourage you to prioritize yourself. And certainly we have to model that for other people. And I try to do a good job of doing that.
Okay, Elise is going to kill me, but as a lawyer would say, you opened the door. You mentioned your playlist. You are a human Shazam. Tell us about your soundtrack and why it matters.
I love music. It's very motivating to me. And it's just a release. In fact, at the end of every day, I've got my Beats headset in my room, in my hotel room right now. And at the very end of the day, I'm going to be putting on Shakira or Beyonce or Janet or somebody and dancing my heart out. I think that all of us, and by the way, I've been doing this since I was a little girl, whatever you did when you were a kid to release is probably the same thing that you should be doing right now. And so I hope for each one of you, if there's one takeaway, just take one moment today, take a deep breath, and think about what you'll do in order to refuel yourself.
On behalf of my fellow entrepreneurs, Jim Van de Hei and Roy Schwartz, it means so much to us that you were here at Axios House, South by Southwest in Austin, that you joined Axios on the live stream. We appreciate our partners, Axios Live, Axios Local, who made these conversations possible.